The narcissist moves on quickly to cover the wound. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Thank you for joining us for another video. If you find our content helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support helps our channel grow and reach more individuals who may benefit. You never need to be concerned about a narcissist who moves on rapidly. Their swift action is primarily an attempt to conceal their inner wounds. This is the core reason for their haste. They are focused on covering up their hurt. A narcissist by nature will move on quickly. It is a characteristic behavior. They will undoubtedly move on with speed. This is because they operate differently from empaths. Empaths engage in introspection. They reflect deeply on their experiences. They prioritize healing, cleansing themselves spiritually, emotionally and physically. This process of self-purification occurs before they embark on a new journey in a different relationship. Empaths consistently undertake this necessary period of recovery. As I have often emphasized, taking time for solitude and self-reflection is crucial. However, it is also true that every individual heals at their own pace. Within the community discussing narcissistic relationships, there is no definitive timeline or precise method for how long this healing period should last. Yet if you commit to the work of recovery and genuinely reach a state of indifference, where you are not pursuing a new relationship out of a desire for revenge or merely trying to mask your pain, unlike the narcissist, then you will recognize the appropriate time. When you as an empath and a chosen one do embrace a new relationship, it will inherently be a fulfilling one. It will bring genuine satisfaction and depth. However, the narcissists who are involved in your life are wounded. This holds true regardless of whether you were the one who was discarded, initiated the reverse discard, or ended the connection because their behavior became excessively toxic. They are fundamentally in need of supply. They are creatures who are desperately reliant on supply. Consequently, they will quickly seek out someone new to occupy their time, often beginning with behaviors like love bombing. It is worth noting that they frequently engage in these patterns, even with other narcissists. This highlights their lack of foresight. They rush into new connections or situationships with individuals who are also toxic, essentially, with people who are just as lacking in substance and integrity as they are. They are unconcerned with the nature of these new relationships. They possess no true morals, principles, or foundational values. This is the typical behavior of narcissists. They move on very quickly. It is important to understand that within their mindset, this rapid transition is driven by an underlying agenda and a motive centered around you. A significant part of why they propel themselves forward into a new relationship with a new supply is because you remain a prominent presence in their thoughts. You are the force that motivates their behavior in this manner. You weigh heavily on their minds. Ultimately, their actions are an effort to cover the wound you represent to them and to distract themselves from it. And you know, there is a comment saying that suggests having too many partners over a lifetime is not beneficial. Whether we examine this from a religious, scientific, psychological, or even a spiritual perspective, being deeply connected with numerous individuals takes a significant toll. It reduces the likelihood of establishing a successful and lasting relationship. Indeed, studies indicate that individuals who have had fewer partners tend to experience more successful marriages. While divorce and breakup rates still exist, of course, the probability of these relationships enduring appears higher for those with less relationship history. This observation typically pertains to individuals with a healthy capacity for connection. Now, I am not suggesting that having had multiple partners in the past is inherently wrong, especially in the current era. It is 2025, and societal norms around relationships have evolved. Given the prevalence of toxic individuals, it makes no sense to remain in a relationship with someone who is harmful. We are not living a century ago, or even 50 to 80 years ago, when couples often stayed together, supported one another, and upheld stronger moral and ethical principles, much like our grandparents or even parents might have done. That was a different time with different relationship dynamics. Today, the pace of life and relationships is much faster. People are active on dating apps, rushing to find new partners. They are caught up in the hustle and bustle, moving quickly from one person to the next. However, this rapid succession of relationships has a genuinely negative effect. This impact is felt by people in general, by typical authentic individuals, by empaths, and by those chosen ones. Crucially, it also has a profound effect on narcissists, and arguably even more so on them, precisely because they lack the capacity to bond efficiently, while a narcissist might form a degree of connection with an empath, often due to the potent supply an empath provides. They face considerable difficulty when navigating the world of other individuals who may also be untrustworthy, deceptive, and dishonest. When they lack a genuinely authentic, caring, and empathetic presence in their lives, someone truly loyal and loving, they struggle significantly. This is why, for the narcissists who have been part of your life, it is likely they will never truly get over you. Regardless of how intensely they try to conceal the wound they feel, and, despite their efforts to escape the void in their lives by occupying themselves with new supplies, they never genuinely escape it. That underlying emptiness remains with them. Therefore, this is why their approach to life, continuously cycling through supplies and attempting to cause pain to others, even when they have had an empath in their life, ultimately leads them down a difficult path. They are unlikely to encounter another empath like yourself again. It is simply not probable. Narcissists will not simply come across another empath or someone with the qualities you possess. Not all narcissists even encounter an empath at all. Remember, empaths and chosen ones are not common. They are dispersed among the general population. As you know, there are many narcissists and toxic individuals, but you rarely meet another empath. The same rarity applies to narcissists, finding someone like an empath again. It is possible that these narcissists might begin a relationship with someone they initially believe could be an empath. They might perceive a particular individual as potentially empathetic, however, often that person is merely presenting a false appearance, wearing a mask. The narcissist might think they have found an empath, only to discover that this new person is also wearing a mask, and they are both individuals engaging in narcissistic behaviors, attempting to manipulate each other. This dynamic is inherently problematic. They are often caught in strange and unhealthy interactions. So this is the reality they face. They encounter numerous obstacles, considerable hurt, frequent betrayal, significant pain and suffering. They find themselves going deeper and deeper down a path driven by the attempt to conceal the wound left by losing you. They experience an immense void in their life, a significant absence. They are suffering without the presence of an empath and a chosen one. You were the one who helped them stay afloat. You were someone who even brought them moments of happiness. While they are often fundamentally miserable, your presence generally lifted their spirits, or whatever fragmented part of their spirit remained. You were able to elevate them to some degree. To some extent, this is what I wish to emphasize. You uplifted them to a certain level, and this was because of the powerful supply you offered. You made them feel, perhaps empowered is not quite the right word. You made them feel invigorated. This might be a more accurate description. They felt a surge of energy and vitality, simply by being in your presence. And this is something they are simply not going to find again easily. So this characteristic pattern of behavior, where narcissists attempt to conceal their emotional wounds by quickly moving on to new supplies, is a deliberate strategy. If they sense that this action is causing you distress or affecting you negatively, they may even intensify this behavior. This is not necessarily because they want you back, but rather they may perceive their actions as somehow being effective or the correct course from their distorted perspective. However, if you were able to look beyond the surface of their actions, you can clearly see the reality. Consider the situation: you and the narcissist were together for a certain duration, perhaps a significant amount of time. Despite this shared history, they very quickly and abruptly transitioned into a relationship with someone new. This rapid shift, often referred to as monkey branching, involves them quickly grasping onto what might be considered a low-hanging fruit, or a less significant new supply, simply to avoid being alone. They essentially swing from one relationship vine to another without pausing. This behavior is a direct result of their fundamental inability to form genuine, deep emotional bonds, to pair bond effectively in these new connections. There is a distinct lack of true substance. There is nothing genuinely meaningful or enduring within that relationship they have so quickly entered. Absolutely nothing. Therefore, there is genuinely nothing within that situation that you need to be worried or concerned about. When a narcissist rapidly shifts to a new supply, engaging in this monkey branching behavior, it speaks volumes about their own internal state, not about you, as I consistently advocate. Achieving a state of indifference is the absolute key to your healing and moving forward. Reaching that point where you are not emotionally affected is crucial. This means you are no longer fazed by the narcissist's actions. You simply do not care who they are with, or what activities they are pursuing. This state of indifference is the goal you should strive for if you have not yet reached it. Once you arrive at this point, you have fundamentally overcome their influence. For the narcissist, in essence, they have lost any hold they had over you. Conversely, if you remain hurt, upset, or feeling down and defeated, they may perceive this as having won or maintained control over you. This underscores a critical truth: indifference defeats all narcissists when your mind, heart, and spirit are firmly rooted in a state of indifference. They possess absolutely no power over you. Their attempts to manipulate or provoke you become ineffective. So they may continue their efforts to cover up their internal wounds, moving from one supply to another, engaging in whatever behaviors they choose. But these actions will not impact you, because you have reached that protective state of indifference. Therefore, I urge you not to be emotionally swayed by their actions. This behavior, this monkey branching, is inherent to the nature of the narcissist. It is a reflection of who they are, not a reflection of you. Everything that has transpired serves as a lesson, revealing more about them than about yourself. Someone who can so readily move on, causing significant drama and chaos in your life, especially when all you offered them was love and support, demonstrates profound flaws in their character. This pattern of behavior speaks volumes about their internal emptiness and dysfunction. You do not need to be emotionally disturbed by their actions. Any individual who engages in the kind of abusive behaviors commonly found in the narcissist's handbook, essentially any action stemming from their disordered personality, is revealing their own nature. Their actions speak about them, they do not speak about you. They provide clear insights into their character and motivations. Consequently, you do not need to be emotionally unsettled by whatever actions they have taken, whether that resulted in them discarding you, a reverse discard occurring, or you needing to end the connection because their toxicity became unbearable. All of their actions, everything that has happened in the dynamic, speaks far more about them than it does about you. Your role in the relationship was to be loving, pure in intention, kind, generous, empathetic, loyal, and supportive. You were consistently doing the right things within the relationship context. Therefore, why should you feel broken in spirit or heartbroken when your actions were consistently aligned with what is right? The challenging reality is simply that you directed these right actions towards the wrong person. It is natural to experience a period of grief as you process the knowledge that you invested your positive energy and intentions into someone who was fundamentally unable to reciprocate in a healthy way. However, as I have emphasized, strive for personal growth and emotional elevation, aim for ascension, and most importantly, aim for indifference. This state of indifference is quite genuinely the essential key to your healing journey. So here are some key reasons explaining why narcissists tend to move on from relationships very quickly. First, a significant factor is that narcissistic individuals often exhibit traits of codependency. They possess a profound need for other people in their lives. Narcissists typically find it intolerable to be alone. They cannot tolerate solitude. Therefore, moving on quickly to a new relationship serves as a means to avoid the discomfort and emptiness they feel when isolated. Their reliance on external sources for validation and emotional regulation drives this behavior. Another primary reason is that, unlike individuals who do not exhibit narcissistic traits, narcissists do not engage in the process of internal healing and working through their issues. Non-narcissistic individuals are often able to take time after a relationship ends to process their emotions, engage in self-reflection, and work through their personal challenges. They can find ways to self-soothe and heal independently before re-engaging with the world or pursuing new romantic connections. Narcissistic individuals, however, lack this capacity for internal processing. Instead of taking accountability for their actions, or undertaking the difficult work of healing on their own, they utilize other people to help them navigate their trauma and unresolved issues. The tendency is for narcissists to simply move on, in an attempt to find what they perceive as a clean slate with someone new. It is crucial to understand that, while they might enter a new relationship with the hope of a fresh start, they are invariably carrying the unresolved issues, trauma and negative patterns from their previous relationships into the new one. The past is not truly left behind, it is simply transferred. This leads to a fundamental question that many who have been involved with a narcissist ask: why do narcissists move on so quickly? And will this new supply be treated better than I was? The unfortunate reality is that, due to their inability to heal and process internally, the patterns of behavior tend to repeat. As we discussed, narcissists move on quickly because fundamentally, they do not engage in healing and self-reflection in the way that non-narcissistic individuals do. They lack the internal resources needed to process difficult emotions on their own. They cannot effectively self-soothe or comfort themselves when experiencing emotional pain. For a narcissistic individual, sitting with feelings of pain, hurt, embarrassment, or shame, emotions that some may experience following a discard, is deeply uncomfortable if not unbearable. Their quick transition to a new relationship is a powerful avoidance mechanism designed to escape these difficult internal states. Rather than confronting and working through the pain, hurt, and shame, a narcissist would prefer to quickly enter a relationship with someone new, someone they may not even know well. They will then often employ tactics like love bombing on this new person as a way to distract themselves and keep their minds off the previous relationship and the negative feelings associated with it. However, despite this rapid shift and the intensity of the new connection, relationships involving narcissistic individuals tend to follow predictable patterns. This is precisely because they have not addressed the core issues that may have contributed to the failure of the previous relationship. This unresolved baggage, so to speak, is then brought directly into the new partnership. In the initial phase, the new supply might overlook or ignore this emotional baggage. This is often because they are in the midst of being love-bombed or subjected to other manipulative behaviors, which can create a distracting and confusing dynamic. They may not recognize the underlying issues because they are caught up in the intensity of the idealization phase. You might even observe that the narcissistic person consistently talks about their ex or remains fixated on the previous relationship, even shortly after ending it. It is not uncommon for a narcissist to end a relationship only a week prior and then quickly be declaring love for someone else. This illustrates a key aspect of how narcissists operate. It is vital to understand that narcissistic individuals who engage in these behaviors are fundamentally unable to process difficult emotions. This inability to cope with internal pain is the core reason behind their need to move on so quickly. They simply do not want to confront or process those painful feelings. Let me emphasize this point. Narcissists do feel pain. Many people mistakenly believe that narcissistic individuals are like robots devoid of emotion. But I assure you, they experience feelings, and often quite intensely, though they may express them differently or lack the capacity to process them healthily. Furthermore, it is not inherently difficult to hurt a narcissist's feelings. This is something I often tell people. Despite their outward appearance of invincibility or arrogance, narcissistic individuals frequently possess very fragile egos. Their sense of self-worth is often unstable and dependent on external validation. Therefore, it can be surprisingly easy to wound their feelings. It's almost as if this emotional vulnerability comes as a standard feature with a narcissistic personality, much like a standard piece of equipment might come with a specific tool or profession. So hurting a narcissistic person emotionally is generally not a challenging task. However, as I mentioned earlier, this is precisely why they move on so quickly from relationships. They are unwilling or unable to tolerate sitting with that emotional pain and hurt. They lack the internal mechanisms to process these difficult feelings in a constructive way. In contrast, you have the capacity to heal on your own. You can take the necessary time for recovery. Engage in practices like journaling. Allow yourself to feel and process your emotions, and ultimately move forward. By working through these issues, you have the potential to emerge as a stronger, better person. Narcissistic individuals, on the other hand, do not typically engage in this kind of internal work. They do not confront or resolve the underlying issues that contributed to the breakdown of their previous relationships. Instead, they simply carry forward whatever behaviors led to the breakup, whether it was cheating, lying, manipulation, or other harmful actions. These core negative qualities remain. They are simply masked or concealed within the new relationship with the new supply. The outward presentation might change, but the fundamental issues persist beneath the surface. So yes, it is true that they feel hurt. And in an effort to avoid experiencing the painful remnants of the old relationship, the narcissist will intensely focus their energy and apparent affection on the new person. They might engage in excessive displays of attention or affection, a form of love bombing, to distract themselves from their own internal discomfort and to quickly secure the validation and supply they need from the new partner. This is why narcissists do not want to experience the hurt and pain associated with loss or their own shortcomings. They actively avoid these difficult emotions. To do so, they will mask them by rapidly entering a new relationship and intensely idealizing and showering the next person with attention. Observe the speed at which they move within these new relationships. You might have been with them for years, 5 years for instance, and never reached milestones like engagement or marriage. Yet, they might become engaged and married to a new supply within a matter of months, 3 or 6 months. Suddenly they appear completely invested. Within that same short time frame of 3 to 6 months, they might already be expecting a child or purchasing a house together and moving in. You see how extraordinarily fast this transition can be. This rapid progression in the new relationship serves as a powerful diversion, intended to shift focus away from the complexities and unresolved issues of the previous relationship. I truly hope this explanation resonates with you and clarifies this common behavior. It is a pattern frequently observed in narcissistic individuals. It is a challenging experience to witness, but understanding the underlying reasons can be incredibly empowering. Thank you all for tuning in and joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please show your support by giving it a like, leaving a comment to share your thoughts or experiences, sharing it with anyone you think could benefit, and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Your engagement helps this community grow. I will be back with another video for you all very soon.